The Arctic stretched before them like an endless white canvas, pristine and deceptively serene. Dr. Marcus Landon stood at the bow of the research vessel, his weathered hands gripping the railing, eyes scanning the horizon with a mixture of professional curiosity and underlying tension. The research expedition had been months in planning, a meticulously organized mission to study climate change and Arctic ecosystems, but nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to discover. Elena Rodriguez, the team's lead geologist, was the first to spot the anomaly. Her sharp eyes, trained to detect the slightest variations in the landscape, caught a glint of metal against the stark white backdrop. "Dr. Landon," she called out, her voice cutting through the crisp Arctic air. "There's something out there." At first, the team dismissed it as a trick of light. The Arctic was notorious for its optical illusions, mirages that could transform the landscape into a shimmering, deceptive realm. But as they drew closer, the reality became undeniable. A plane wreckage lay scattered across the ice, its twisted metal frame a stark contrast to the pristine whiteness surrounding it. Dr. Landon's team was a carefully assembled group of professionals. Elena Rodriguez, the geologist, Dr. James Chen, their meteorological expert, Sarah Winters, a seasoned Arctic survival specialist, and Michael Reyes, their communications and technical support lead. Each member brought unique expertise, but now they were united by a shared sense of intrigue and mounting unease. "We'll approach systematically, Doctor," Landon announced, his voice calm but authoritative. "Michael, maintain communication from the boat. Elena, James, Sarah, you're with me." The team split into two groups. While Michael remained on the research vessel, monitoring their progress and maintaining communication lines, Dr. Landon led the ground team towards the crash site. The ice crunched beneath their specialized Arctic expedition boots, each step careful and calculated. As they approached, the extent of the destruction became increasingly apparent. The plane's fuselage was torn open, its metal skin shredded like paper. Debris was scattered in a wide radius, half buried in snow and ice. Personal belongings, fragments of equipment, pieces of a story waiting to be uncovered. Michael's voice crackled through their communication devices. "Wait!" he interrupted suddenly. "I'm seeing something. A movement. A shadow, maybe?" Elena raised her high-powered binoculars. "Where?" "Just at the edge of the horizon." It was there and then gone. The ground team exchanged glances. In the Arctic, unexpected movements could mean anything. A polar bear, a shifting ice formation, or something less explainable. What truly unnerved them were the peculiar details surrounding the crash site. Strange markings etched into the snow. Not quite tracks, not quite natural formations. They looked almost deliberate, yet no clear pattern emerged. Sarah, with her extensive Arctic experience, found herself unusually perplexed. "These aren't animal tracks," she muttered, crouching to examine the markings more closely. "And they're not from the crash debris either." James Chen, meticulously documenting everything, captured hundreds of photographs. But it was one particular image that would later become the source of intense discussion and speculation. A crew member, Elena to be precise, had inadvertently captured something extraordinary. A faint white figure seemingly emerging from the wreckage, visible in one photograph but absent in others. Dr. Landon, ever the scientific rationalist, was skeptical. "Photographic anomalies are common in extreme light conditions," he explained, though even he couldn't entirely dismiss the unsettling nature of the image. As the wind picked up, carrying with it the promise of an approaching Arctic storm, the team knew they needed to work quickly. Every moment counted in this unforgiving environment, where nature could transform from seemingly calm to violently dangerous in mere minutes. The wreckage held secrets, scattered personal items frozen in time, fragments of technology waiting to be decoded. But more than the physical evidence, there was something else. A sense of something unresolved, something waiting just beyond their understanding. "We need to be methodical," Dr. Landon reminded his team. "Every detail matters." Little did they know that their methodical investigation was about to uncover a mystery far more complex and haunting than any of them could have imagined. The Arctic, with its pristine white landscape, was preparing to reveal its first tantalizing clue. The wind howled, and somewhere in the distance, something moved, just beyond the reach of their understanding. The Arctic wind whipped across the desolate landscape, a stark reminder of the unforgiving environment surrounding Dr. Marcus Landon and his research team. After their initial discovery of the plane wreckage, the group's determination to uncover the truth burned brighter than ever. Elena Rodriguez carefully catalogued the scattered personal items they found near the crash site. Her trained geologist's eye caught minute details others might have missed. "Look at this," she called out, holding up a partially preserved notebook, its pages brittle and frost-covered. Dr. James Chen approached, his meteorological expertise complementing Elena's methodical investigation. Michael Reyes, their communications specialist, set up specialized equipment to document and preserve their findings. Sarah Winters maintained a vigilant watch, her survival training keeping the team acutely aware of potential dangers. Dr. Landon examined a cracked communication screen they'd recovered. The final message: descending into the unknown. Zrenia sent a chill down his spine that had nothing to do with the Arctic temperature. The cryptic words seemed to hang in the air, pregnant with unspoken mystery. "This could be our breakthrough," Michael said, carefully extracting the plane's black box from the wreckage. The device looked surprisingly intact, its robust design protecting it from the catastrophic impact and harsh Arctic conditions. As they worked, an unsettling atmosphere descended upon the team. Eerie sounds began to echo across the ice, a low, almost imperceptible whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Sarah's hand instinctively moved to the survival knife at her belt. "You hear that?" she whispered, her eyes scanning the surrounding landscape. Elena pointed to a series of fresh tracks leading away from the crash site. "These aren't animal tracks," she observed, her voice tinged with both excitement and apprehension. "They're too deliberate, too intentional." Dr. Landon studied the tracks carefully. "Let's follow them," he decided, his scientific curiosity overriding any sense of caution. The team packed their essential gear and began to trace the mysterious path. The tracks led them to the entrance of a dark cave, partially concealed by snow and ice. The opening was just large enough for a person to enter, its darkness seeming to swallow all light. Sarah checked their equipment, ensuring they had proper lighting and safety gear. Inside, the cave revealed unexpected signs of human habitation. Remnants of cooking spots, scattered belongings, and makeshift bedding suggested someone, or something, had been using this space recently. Dr. Chen documented everything, his scientific mind racing with possibilities. "This doesn't make sense," Michael muttered, examining what appeared to be a recently used cooking area. "Who could survive out here?" The feeling of being watched grew increasingly intense. The team's nerves were stretched to their breaking point, each shadow and sound amplified by the cave's enclosed space. Suddenly, a deep, rumbling sound stopped them in their tracks. Before they could react, they found themselves face to face with a mother polar bear and her cubs. The massive predator stood between them and the cave's exit, her protective instincts clearly triggered by the intrusion. Time seemed to freeze. Sarah, with her extensive survival training, was the first to react. "Nobody move," she whispered, her voice calm but loaded with tension. "Slow, controlled movements. We need to retreat." Dr. Landon understood immediately. With calculated precision, the team began to back away, maintaining eye contact with the massive bear. The mother bear huffed, her breath visible in the cold air, cubs huddled close behind her. In a moment of collective relief and terror, they managed to exit the cave. The encounter explained some of the strange sounds and movements they'd experienced, but it answered far fewer questions than it raised. As they regrouped outside, the team exchanged meaningful glances. The black box remained their primary hope for understanding the mysterious plane crash. Yet, the cave, the tracks, and now this unexpected bear encounter suggested that the Arctic held secrets far beyond their initial expectations. "Well," Dr. Landon said, breaking the tense silence, "I believe our research expedition just became significantly more complicated." The team nodded in agreement, the vast white landscape around them seeming to hold its breath, guarding its mysteries. The wind howled across the desolate Arctic landscape, a haunting backdrop to the team's final moments at the crash site. Dr. Marcus Landon hunched over the recovered black box, his breath forming small clouds in the frigid air. Elena Rodriguez stood beside him, her analytical eyes scanning the device's data readouts, while Michael Reyes prepared the specialized equipment for a comprehensive analysis. "These navigation logs are unusual," Elena muttered, her fingers tracing the cryptic data patterns. "There are multiple unexplained coordinate shifts just before the crash." Dr. Landon nodded, his skepticism giving way to genuine intrigue. "James, what do you make of these meteorological anomalies?" he called to Dr. Chen, who was reviewing the atmospheric data collected from the black box. James adjusted his thick-rimmed glasses, his breath visible in the cold. "The readings suggest something more than a standard equipment malfunction. These fluctuations are unprecedented, almost like the instruments were experiencing some form of electromagnetic interference." Sarah Winters, the team's survival specialist, remained near the wreckage's perimeter, her keen eyes constantly scanning the surrounding landscape. Her hand instinctively rested near her emergency flare gun, a habit born from years of Arctic expeditions. Michael's voice cut through the tension. "I've managed to recover the final audio communication. Want to hear it?" A crackling sound emerged from the device, revealing the pilot's last moments. Their voices were strained, filled with a mixture of confusion and mounting panic. "Something's wrong with the instruments. Can't get a read on our position. Terrain looks impossible." The recording ended abruptly, leaving an uncomfortable silence among the team members. "Those last words," Elena said softly, "they suggest they were experiencing something beyond a standard navigational error." Dr. Landon's scientific mind wrestled with the interpretations. The black box provided technical explanations, equipment failure, potential electromagnetic disruptions, but it failed to address the more enigmatic elements they had encountered. The strange tracks, the unexplained figure in Elena's photograph, the signs of recent habitation in the cave. "We might never know the complete story," he admitted, a rare moment of vulnerability breaking through his typically composed demeanor. Sarah approached the group, her thermal imaging device in hand. "I've done a final sweep of the area. No heat signatures, no signs of recent human activity beyond what we've already discovered." The team began the methodical process of documenting and packing their findings. Each artifact, each piece of data, was carefully labeled and secured. The black box would require extensive analysis back at their research facility, promising weeks of potential revelations. As the Arctic sun began its slow descent, a perpetual twilight characteristic of the region, the team prepared for departure. The wreckage stood as a silent testament to human vulnerability against nature's unpredictable forces. "We came seeking answers about climate patterns," Michael reflected, "and instead found a mystery that defies conventional explanation." Dr. Landon smiled wryly. "Science is often about embracing the unknown, not just confirming what we already know." Their expedition vessel waited, a beacon of technological comfort against the harsh, pristine wilderness. As they loaded their equipment, each team member carried a sense of both accomplishment and lingering uncertainty. Despite the insights from the black box, the team could not ignore the lingering mysteries. Who had created the markings and tracks near the site? What was the origin of the figure in the photograph? As they prepared to leave, they reflected on their findings. While the black box offered technical explanations, the cave discoveries and strange sightings left open-ended questions about the survival of potential passengers. As their expedition ended, the team departed with both answers and enigmas. They had uncovered the tragic fate of the lost plane, confronted the harsh realities of the Arctic, and gained a newfound respect for its unforgiving environment. In the end, the wreckage stood as a silent monument to the unpredictable forces of nature, and the team left the Arctic with the haunting realization that some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved. Do you like this touching and surprising story? If so, we invite you to leave us a comment expressing your opinion. If you want to continue enjoying inspiring stories like this one, subscribe to our channel or check out the other videos shown at the bottom of the screen. Thank you for your cooperation,